Bad times have forced Bush to work hard, trying to hang on to former Democrats who started voting Republican 12 years ago for Ronald Reagan. In Wisconsin, Bush tried to sell himself as a clone of a Democratic folk hero.
Harry Truman ran a small business. He knew what it was to meet a payroll, to work for a living in the private sector, and so do I.
Bush then came close to pointing to Bill Clinton's draft record.
And Harry Truman wanted to join the military and fight for his country, and so do I, and I did. And Harry Truman ran as an underdog, just as I am, and he liked it, and so do I.
Bush's bottom line message: Bill Clinton is no Harry Truman.
Harry Truman was a man of decisiveness, not equivocation. He'd find little in common with the Governor Clinton, a man who hedges or ducks on almost every tough issue.
It was an odd kind of negative campaigning. A Republican accusing one Democrat of not acting like another Democrat. But Bush had to admit that in 1948 he voted against Harry Truman because, says Bush, Truman was for big government. And Barbara Bush went further today, saying the country would be in a heck of a lot better shape now if Truman had lost in 1948. All of which seems to undercut Bush's message today that he is just wild about Harry. Tom?
Thank you. John Cochran at the White House tonight. As for Bill Clinton, he was not about to let the legacy of his fellow Democrats slip away without a Truman claim of his own. NBC's Andrea Mitchell begins her report tonight in Independence, Missouri.
In Harry Truman's hometown in a key Midwestern state, Bill Clinton claimed that he, not George Bush, is the true heir to Truman's legacy.
George Bush cast his first vote against Harry Truman, and he has spent 4 years fighting against everything that Harry Truman fought for.
Clinton's strategy is to keep hammering away at Bush's economic record, rain or shine.
We've had 12 years of trickle down. We can take 12 more minutes of it to turn our country around. Before you drown, I'm going to tell you this one final thing, and we're going to do what Harry Truman did for the next 57 days. Go across this country, give them hell, and make America what it ought to be again. Thank you.
In the new NBC News poll, more people believe Clinton will do a better job dealing with the economy than Bush. But the new poll also has troubling news for Clinton. Voters now consider Bush more trustworthy. One reason may be that Clinton has still not put to rest questions about his draft status during Vietnam, such as whether he knew that a relative had tried to get him out of the draft.
You got a feeding frenzy on about something that, even if it's true, doesn't amount to a hill of beans. I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about it, and it does not affect the truth that I have told about the facts of the draft situation.
Today, he tried to change the subject from the draft to suggestions in newly released documents that Bush may have known more than he has said about Iran-Contra.
Which, if true, would call into question not only the president's veracity, but his support for illegal conduct.
But his chief defense is to take the offensive on the economy, as he did with running mate Al Gore in Ohio tonight. Clinton hopes to turn the trust issue around by persuading voters that Bush cannot be trusted to revive the economy, which polls show is Clinton's best issue. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News with the Clinton campaign in Missouri.
Well, Nightly News continues in a moment. Another skydiving plane tragedy, this one in Illinois today. And as summer ends, so does the deadliest season ever on Mount McKinley, Denali, the great frozen mountain in Alaska, the highest in North America.
If you're looking for a great vacation, I've got just the place. In the morning, in the evening, ain't we got fun? Not much money, oh, but honey, ain't we got fun? The food is great here, there's never a bill. We'll stay up late, dear, let's not miss a thrill. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
If your business gives up the quality of AT&T Pro Watts and calls from Boston to Chicago with someone else, here's your big savings. Leaving AT&T doesn't make a lot of sense.
A recent university study confirms something that has millions of asthma sufferers breathing easier. Clinical tests showed Primatene tablets help keep asthma sufferers breathing freely for hours. Primatene tablets with the asthma reliever doctors recommend.
A fiery crash of a skydiving plane in Illinois today. All 12 people on board were killed. The plane took off in clear weather, but suddenly began rocking from side to side and then plunged into a field. NBC's Fred Briggs.
The twin-engine Beechcraft D-18 crashed into a soybean field outside of Hinckley, 50 miles west of Chicago. The passengers were members of a skydiving club. The Beechcraft had just taken off from the Hinckley airport. The crash site just a little over a mile from that airport. But no one knows as yet why the plane suddenly nosed down.
About 2 or 3 people who saw the aircraft in the air, saw it flying very low, and then saw it go into the field.
It was so much totally inflamed that, you could get halfway close to it, but one wing still had fuel in it, and it would, could have blown up, so we didn't get right up next to it, but there was nothing that anybody could have done.
It was obviously flying much too low for any of the skydivers to bail out, but on the chance someone might have, a helicopter circled the area, and dogs were sent in to see if any survivors might be lying injured and unseen under the thick cover of the soybean field. No one was found. The bodies have been removed from the area and taken to a morgue. Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board and the FAA are on the scene now. There are no answers yet on the cause of this crash, nor any likely for some time to come. Fred Briggs, NBC News, Hinckley, Illinois.
2 weeks ago today, Hurricane Andrew roared across South Florida, the first direct hit since Hurricane Betsy in 1965. The time between storms appears to have dimmed memories and led to a complacency in building standards, now being blamed for much of Andrew's damage. More on this story from NBC's Dennis Murphy.
Hello? Hello? Building Inspector Ed McAdam is condemning houses and checking the rafters for slipshod work.
This is another condition where there's one nail in the top cord and one on the bottom.
Again, not enough nails, huh?
Not enough nails.
In house after house here, the hurricane has exposed builders' shortcuts. Gables blown out because they had 2 hurricane straps, not the 6 the construction code required. Roof trusses of weak, knotted timber. Shingles fastened with staples, not the stronger nails. For $80 worth of fasteners and nails, the homeowner lost his roof.
If they had the proper hurricane hangers here, then we wouldn't see this at all.
The count is over 100,000 damaged or destroyed homes. State and federal investigators are looking for evidence now of criminally substandard work and bribes from contractors to inspectors.
That's our home.
Linda and Greg Newberry have little doubt that their roof blew away because their builder cut corners. Do you think this is a crime, Linda?
Absolutely. There's no question. There's no question. We worked hard. We lost everything.
The Newberrys are living in a tent. The builder was last heard from in Texas 12 years ago. In Country Walk, an expensive subdivision, inspectors today condemned one house after another. Skeletal remains are being checked for building code violations. Some owners are contemplating lawsuits against the developers.
And we thought that they were excellent builders, but I think it's going to turn out that we were shortchanged.
And one state building inspector agrees.
These things should not have happened. These homes should have been built better. You would think if you're going to pay astronomical prices for something, you should at least get your money's worth.
It's debatable whether any home could have survived 160-mile-an-hour winds and probably tornadoes, but growing evidence of negligence by contractors and inspectors has already resulted in stronger codes for the rebuilding of South Florida. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, South Dade County.
The rebuilding of South Florida will take years. It wasn't just the homes demolished or the lives disrupted. NBC's Bob Dotson tonight in Miami.
All across America, the beaches and bays bubble with laughter. Not in Miami. State beaches are closed.
This was all shade, beautiful shade everywhere, with a luscious forest. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Broken trees now wear a nest of boats in their hair.
Cost too much to fix. Looks like it's pretty much total.
The water's edge is an abandoned battlefield. At just one dock, $7 million worth of boats gone. Across South Florida, an estimated $250 billion in damage to marinas. That would be 5 times the cost of Hurricane Hugo and Hurricane Bob combined. It could be the largest maritime disaster in history.
Registration numbers, craft name.
Navy divers must check each wreck.
Manufacturer, length, doors are locked.
Locked outside means nobody's inside.
We haven't found any, fortunately.
Only a single line of boats now and then, pulled from the sea.
Florida Marine Patrol is recommending that recreational boaters stay in port because there is still so much debris.
It is a tempting graveyard. Police make sure no one is pirating.
You a salvage company? Yes. Okay, you got your paperwork with you?
It's not only the beauty that's lost, there's a feeling of joy that the people that used to enjoy here are not going to have anymore. That's nature, I guess.
Closed for a season of healing. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Miami.
No closing tonight for the London Zoo, the world's oldest. It will stay open because of generous gifts, among them $2 million from the Emir of Kuwait. Last week, he gave $10 million to the victims of Hurricane Andrew and the Los Angeles riots.
Boy, this couch weighs a ton. Where does it go, Miss Lansbury?
Oh, right there, please. Wow. If I lifted that, I'd need Bufferin for the aches and pains afterwards.
You really believe in Bufferin?
I certainly do.
It's strong, huh?
Extra strength Bufferin has the strongest dosage of aspirin that you can buy. And I've discovered that the buffers don't weaken it. They just help prevent aspirin stomach upset.
Shouldn't you discover the strength of Bufferin? And for nighttime aches, pains, and sleeplessness, try Bufferin AF Nighttime. It's aspirin-free.
This just isn't me. This just isn't my kind of love.
From Maine to California.
You're kidding me.
People just like you. Win thousands, win millions. Out of the blue. Miracles can happen for you.
Holy cow.
Publishers Clearinghouse. The house where dreams come true.
After examining, testing, it's a fact. You can buy new Preparation H hydrocortisone cream with the maximum strength available without a prescription to relieve problem itch. New Preparation H hydrocortisone cream. Prescription strength without a prescription.
I found a safer aspirin. Ecotrin.
For minor arthritis pain, Ecotrin's orange coating makes it safer to your stomach than plain or buffered aspirin.
So I'm not concerned taking even the maximum dose.
The safer aspirin, that's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
On America Close Up tonight, Cuba, island in chaos. Fidel Castro this weekend stopped work on a $1 billion nuclear power plant. The project was supposed to end Cuba's energy and economic problems, but there is no money to complete it. Cuba's economic output has fallen 35% since 1990, and shortages throughout the country have forced severe rationing. NBC's Ed Rabel tonight in Havana, Cuba.
The economic crisis in Cuba is so bad that white-collar workers from the cities are being sent to grow crops and tend the fields to prevent starvation. It is back-breaking work for these professionals who are used to air-conditioned offices. Marcos Gomez is a reporter for an all-news radio station in Havana. So is Ileana Gonzalez.
Well, for those who are not used to it, of course it's difficult, particularly the first few days.
It's important because this is the only means the country has to bring in the harvest. It's up to us and we have to do it.
Cubans don't have to read the reports of Western analysts declaring that the Cuban economy is collapsing. They can feel it caving in on them every day. Rationing is severe. Only children under 7 years of age get milk. Meat and eggs are virtually unavailable. Food is in such short supply that for the first time the government is tolerating some black marketeering. This cartload of pineapples was sold out within 10 minutes of the time it appeared on the street. People wait for hours to catch buses, which invariably are jammed and are few and far between. Gone are the days when the Soviets provided more oil than the Cubans needed for transportation and electricity. Electrical blackouts occur every day. This nuclear power plant was being built with Soviet assistance to help solve Cuba's energy problems. The nuclear plant was supposed to start producing electricity in 1994.
We have to handle now the economy with less than 50% of the oil that we had in the year 1990.
With Cuba so troubled, why hasn't President Fidel Castro been toppled from power in a popular uprising? That his highly disciplined security forces keep everybody in line is too simple an answer, say analysts inside Cuba and abroad. Raul Taladrid is a top economics expert in Cuba.
And what the people here values is that no one here is abandoned to his own fate. Right now, we are like the three musketeers, all for one and one for all.
Almost everyone, including Raul Taladrid and other high-ranking Cubans, must labor in the fields. The old, the very young, and the infirm are excused. The analysts say the knowledge that almost everyone is suffering equally and the uncertainty of who or what might replace Fidel Castro have kept people in place so far. Ed Rabel, NBC News, Havana.
In a moment, a massacre in South Africa, and Vincent quits as baseball commissioner.
It seemed like the rain would never stop. I mean, I could feel the dampness in my bones. For the first time since my doctor said I had a touch of arthritis.
He had some pain, so we called the doctor, and he recommended extra-strength Tylenol.
That's right.
With all the choices for your arthritis pain, well, I was surprised.
Well, the Tylenol worked. The pain cleared up.
A lot sooner than weather.
Tylenol, arthritis pain relief from the name you trust.
Stop! This Charmin's not squeezably soft.
Maybe the fluffer broke down.
Oh, no. We fluffed every sheet of Charmin for a deep-down squeezable softness.
So if it's not squeezable...
It's not Charmin.
Hey, what's this?
That's it. You fixed the fluffer. It's squeezable again.
So's this, Chief. New potpourri scented Charmin. The scent's put on the core, not the paper.
Makes sense to me.
Charmin's so pleasable.
Because it's so squeezable.
If your business gives up the quality of AT&T International Long Distance and calls Italy with someone else, here's your big savings.
3 coins in the fountain.
Leaving AT&T doesn't make a lot of sense.
Evenings I soak my dentures. Mornings I brush. Then back to soaking.
Wait, all you need is Dentu-Creme. Why soak when Dentu-Creme gets dentures nearly twice as clean, with more than twice as much mint? All you need is Dentu-Creme.
Every time.
We Americans have some very particular ideas of what we want in our cars and trucks.
I feel like the car's like wrapped around.
One company gets input from customers at every stage of new product development to find out exactly what they're looking for. That may be why 5 of the top 10 selling vehicles in America are built by the same company, Ford Motor Company.
With your help, our quality gets better all the time.
Ford Motor Company. Quality is job one. It's working. It's working.
Here's a quick check now of some of today's other news from around the world. In South Africa, a protest turned into a massacre. 60,000 African National Congress supporters were fired on in a black South African homeland by troops with automatic weapons. 28 dead, almost 200 injured. In Germany, another overnight attack on foreigners. Right-wing youths firebombed 2 apartments in East Germany occupied by Vietnamese immigrants. 10 people were injured. In this country, some 180 striking hotel workers stopped traffic outside the Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas. Most were arrested. Their strike started almost a year ago. Out of work, that's a preoccupation this Labor Day, and it's no easier for those who jumped voluntarily into the job market, walking away from companies eager to trim their payrolls. NBC's chief economics correspondent is Irving R. Levine.
John and Judy Lewis are among the 50,000 workers trimmed from IBM payrolls when computer sales went sour. But the Lewises weren't fired. They took early retirement. Now, between part-time jobs, they help out at their church.
We're not making the money we made before, but we're able to live and enjoy ourselves and do some volunteer work.
A growing list of companies, Chemical Bank, General Electric, General Motors, are easing the blow of layoffs by offering longtime employees cash and benefit incentives to leave before their normal retirement age. It costs companies a bundle up front, but saves money in the long run by getting people off the payroll. For some, it can mean hardship. Fearful of being laid off at 9X, So Mint accepted the lesser evil of early retirement. It's been 18 months and he hasn't found steady work.
I came to this country with a suitcase and $100 in my pocket, so finding another job at this stage is not as difficult as when I came to this country.
Labor leaders have concerns.
What worries us is workers being coerced into early retirement, having thereby no access to medical coverage, having job-related illnesses that they cannot cope with economically.
Often it's a tough decision. When Pacific Telephone cut 3,000 managers, Claude French agonized over an early retirement offer.
After 28 years of getting up and going to the same job every day, the thought of not having something to go to, it was real traumatic.
Early retirement is the velvet glove more and more companies are using to get rid of people. But whether workers jump or are pushed, it adds up to the same thing for the nation's economy, more people out of work. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
Also out of work tonight, Fay Vincent, who resigned today after 3 stormy years as commissioner of baseball. Vincent had been locked in a bitter dispute with baseball owners, most of whom gave him a vote of no confidence just last week.
They ate the same lunch, got the same heartburn, but his antacid is very different. His Tums has calcium. Most antacids don't. Regular Rolaids uses an aluminum salt. This uses aluminum and magnesium. So does this. Of all these, only Tums helps wipe out heartburn and gives you calcium you need every day.
Something my body needs anyway. I like that.
Calcium-rich Tums. That's the one you want.
Louise here was saying that she will not freeze her hearty chicken soup in Gladlock zipper bags.
No, I'll only use the bag my mother uses.
Really? Well, let's go live to your parents' house.
Louise, we've switched to Gladlock zipper bags. Their yellow and blue make green seal shows the bag is closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal. If you'd visit more often, you'd know that.
I'll switch to Gladlock, too.
Isn't it nice to see Gladlock bringing families together? When it really counts, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal.
Some days my minor arthritis acts up, and I really feel the pain. I used to take aspirin. Now I've switched to Advil. Advil relieves the pain in my stiff joints. In fact, 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. And Advil is gentle to my stomach. Maybe that's why doctors recommend Advil for minor arthritis pain, more than any other brand. For my pain, I simply prefer Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
There's a certain itch that's so private, most people will only discuss it with their doctor. Fortunately, now you can get new Anusol HC1 ointment. Over the counter, with the same prescription strength doctors have prescribed most.
With Labor Day marking the end of summer, it also marks the end of the deadliest season ever for Mount McKinley, the highest mountain in North America. 11 climbers died this summer trying to climb this frozen giant natives call Denali, the Great One. A practice rescue mission on Denali, and this summer the practice turned to reality more than in any other time in the mountain's climbing history. 3 Koreans, 4 Canadians, 2 Italians, a Swiss climber, and an American, all experienced mountaineers, are dead from trying to survive Denali's frigid reception.
Climbers underestimate Denali because it has a reputation of not being technically difficult.
Dr. Peter Hackett treats those injured on the mountain.
That's true. There aren't a lot of difficult rock pitches and technical ice climbing, but it's the weather that makes it a survival situation within minutes.
At 20,320 feet, Denali is the highest point in North America. Mount Everest is almost 2 miles higher, but Denali's fierce weather is world-class. Ranger J.D. Swed says storms present their own challenges.
It can be a fearsome place. 30 below zero temperatures, winds over 100 miles an hour, 5 feet of snow falling in a 24-hour period.
With as many as 500 climbers trying to reach the summit each week, accidents, of course, will happen. But these days, Denali is taking the lives of some of the world's finest climbers, including American Mug Stumps, who fell to his death when an ice bridge simply collapsed. Polish climber Krzysztof was climbing last year when he was caught in a sudden storm, forcing him to spend the next 3 days in an ice cave. No food, no heat. He was rescued in tough shape. You love the mountain one day. 24 hours later, you're trying to get off the mountain and you get trapped. Do you then begin to hate the mountain?
No, I didn't think about the mountain because I couldn't see the mountain. It was white out. The only hope I just had was just to have the clear weather, and that's all. My dream was to find myself in a sleeping bag and to have a cup of Coke.
His life was saved, but both feet were amputated. However, Krzysztof has a mission. Climb Denali again next year. Are there people still trying to talk you out of going back?
Yes, and